Stop paying a fortune for marketing. There are 5 coffees in your supermarket, half the price of luxury brands, yet they are 100% pure. But take note, in purity tests conducted by independent laboratories and microscopic analyses, these coffees prove to be completely free of fraud. We are talking here about products without roasted corn, without barley, without chicory, without husks, without straw, and without any of those adulterations that have terrified consumers in recent years. And before you think I'm going to talk about questionable products or unknown brands, let's be very clear. We're talking about coffees that have passed impurity microscopy, which have been approved in blind sensory analyses by specialists. They are simply coffees that don't invest fortunes in sophisticated packaging, nor in television commercials with famous actors to convince you that they are superior. We have been conditioned for decades to believe that a good coffee must necessarily cost a fortune. We've been taught that the 500-gram pack must have an Italian or French name on the label, and that if the price is affordable, the product is certainly stuffed with ground cereals. But the reality shown by regulatory bodies and consumer protection associations is completely different. There are traditional brands, some produced by giant agricultural cooperatives, others by multinationals with rigorous industrial control, which offer purity, freshness, and an honest taste without charging you the price of a restaurant dinner. Based on sanitary control operations that recently took place in several producing and consuming countries where tons of adulterated coffee were seized, we will understand together what truly separates a pure coffee from a fraudulent blend. Because you deserve to know that drinking well every day doesn't require being rich. It only requires understanding the certification seals and making informed choices at the shelf. But before revealing these 5 categories that deserve your attention, it's fundamental to understand how the global coffee market reached this point of widespread mistrust. Why are you afraid to pay less for your coffee? Why do you think a low price is synonymous with poison? The story is fascinating and a bit scary. For decades, traditional supermarket coffee has suffered from serious adulteration problems. Unscrupulous companies discovered they could grind roasted corn, barley, rye, coffee husks that should have been thrown away, straw, and even more questionable materials. They mixed all that with a little real coffee and sold it as if it were a pure product. The goal was simple: increase volume and drastically reduce production costs without the consumer noticing immediately. To mask this mixture, these manufacturers used an extremely dark roast, almost carbonization. By roasting the beans until they turned as black as coal, they masked the strange flavors of grains and straw. Everything became a uniform black powder, tasting of ash and bitterness. It's this historical problem that created generations of consumers who associate cheap coffee with bad coffee and traditional coffee with a burnt taste. But fortunately, times have changed. Detection technology has evolved, laws have become stricter, and oversight is more intense. Today, it is entirely possible to find hidden gems at a low price. So, what are these 5 categories of pure and affordable coffee that you can find all over the world? Let's analyze this in detail. The first category is what I call the industrial heritage brand. It's that brand you see in every supermarket in your country, often in very simple red, green, or yellow packaging. It's the brand your grandparents used to buy. Often, coffee enthusiasts criticize it. They say that it's just a basic coffee. And it's true, it is basic, but it's pure. These brands generally belong to giant multinational corporations. These companies own factories equipped with state-of-the-art technology. They use what is known as optical sorting. These are machines with cameras and lasers that analyze every coffee bean passing on the conveyor belt at a crazy speed. If the bean is black, green, or if it's a pebble or a piece of wood, a jet of air automatically ejects it. Guaranteeing 100% pure coffee is a huge technical challenge. And these giants have the money to do it. So when you buy this historic and inexpensive brand, you're not buying a Grand Cru, but you have the absolute sanitary certainty that it's coffee and nothing else. The second category is cooperative coffee. It's a secret that few people know about. On the shelves, Some brands are not owned by private companies, but by farmer cooperatives. Look at the back of the pack. Look for the mention produced by the cooperative of. Why is this important? Because the cooperative belongs to the producers themselves. The coffee comes directly from the farm, goes through the cooperative's factory, and arrives at the supermarket. There are no shady intermediaries, no traders buying leftover stock to mix them together. It's pure traceability. Since there are fewer intermediaries to pay, the price is often very aggressive, much lower than the big brands that spend millions on advertising. The profile of this coffee is often robust, full-bodied, and honest. It's definitive proof that you don't need matte black packaging with gold letters to have real coffee. The third category, and it's often the most surprising, is coffee with old-fashioned packaging. I'm talking about that pack that's often at the very bottom of the shelf. The design looks like it's from the 80s. It's not pretty, it's not modern, and that's exactly why it's interesting. This brand spends absolutely nothing on marketing. No social media, no rebranding, no advertising. All the production costs go into the product. Often, these brands survive for 30 or 40 years solely thanks to the loyalty of local consumers who know the product is good. It's the ugly duckling of the aisle. Don't judge it by its appearance. If you look at the ingredients and certifications on the back, you'll often see it passes purity tests with flying colors. It's a rational choice for those who want volume and purity without paying for shiny cardboard. The fourth category is the rotation leader. Here, it's about observing the store's behavior. Which brand sells the most? The one whose shelves empty the fastest. There's a hidden technical advantage to being the best-selling brand. Freshness. Coffee is a perishable agricultural product. It oxidizes on contact with air. Coffee roasted 6 months ago will taste like cardboard and rancid, even if it was the best bean in the world at the start. Popular brands that sell by the entire pallet have an ultra-fast stock turnover. This means the pack you're picking up was probably roasted only a few weeks ago. Conversely, that very expensive gourmet pack at the very top of the shelf might have been there for 8 months because nobody buys it. Between a very fresh standard coffee and an old oxidized gourmet coffee, the fresh standard coffee will always be better in the cup. It's a basic chemical rule. The fifth category concerns composition, the technical blend, or 100% Robusta. Marketing has taught us that only Arabica is good. That's false. Arabica is finer, more acidic, more aromatic. That's true. But Robusta is a noble variety when it's well treated. Robusta costs less to produce because the tree is more resistant and more productive. It's not a sub-coffee, it's another species. It has more caffeine, more body, and makes a better crema. Many cheap brands are blends with a high proportion of Robusta. They're cheaper thanks to agricultural efficiency, not because they're cut with corn. If you like strong coffee that really wakes you up, that has body with milk, don't be afraid of these blends. They're pure, they're intense, and they're economical. Now that you know these 5 categories, the crucial question is, how do you protect yourself in practice when you're in front of the aisle, surrounded by dozens of brands? There's a 5-step verification protocol that anyone can apply in less than a minute. First, look for the certification seal. In every country, there's a coffee association or a food protection agency. Look for a small logo that certifies purity or quality. If the pack has no seal, no external guarantee, your suspicion should be absolute. Coffee without a seal is like Russian roulette. Second, the roasting date. Don't just look at the expiration date. Look for the manufacturing date. Coffee doesn't get better with time. Oxygen kills it. Always prefer packs made less than 3 months ago. If it's over 6 months, put the pack back. Always take the packs from the back of the shelf. That's where employees put the most recent stock. Third, the vacuum touch test. If you buy vacuum-packed ground coffee, squeeze the pack. It should be hard as a building brick, completely rigid. If the pack is soft, if you feel it move under your fingers, don't buy it. This means the vacuum is lost, air has entered, and the coffee is totally oxidized. It will be rancid and flavorless. Fourth, the ingredient list. Read it with the attention of a lawyer. It should only say roasted and ground coffee. Period. If you see terms like sugar, caramelized barley, cereals, chicory, or the generic mention other vegetables, run away. It's not coffee, it's a disguised mixed drink. It's legal if it's written, but it's not what you're looking for. Fifth, the home water test. If you have a doubt about a new brand, do this simple test. Take a glass of cold water. Drop a spoonful of coffee powder on the surface without stirring. Wait. Pure coffee contains natural oils. It's hydrophobic, it should float for a long time, and the water should stay relatively clear. If the powder sinks immediately to the bottom like a stone, or if the water turns black instantly like ink, it's a very strong sign of falsification. Corn, blood, or burnt barley absorbs water very quickly and releases the dye immediately. It's an unstoppable physics test. What needs to be understood crystal clearly today is that the coffee market has improved thanks to controls. But fraudsters will always try to come back because the potential profit is huge. Your best defense isn't a high price. Paying a lot doesn't guarantee purity. Your defense is technical information. It's the ability to read a label, understand the production chain, and recognize signs of industrial quality. You don't need to be rich to drink real coffee every day. You just have to be curious and vigilant. This content is informative and educational based on public data from international control bodies. It doesn't replace a laboratory analysis, but it gives you the weapons to no longer be a victim of marketing.